Ranking of Kings is a fantasy underdog story about a young prince who has not only been cursed, but also has to deal with a disability, both of which are used by those in power to write him off. But through his quest, he will overcome his circumstance and work toward becoming king. It's pretty good and I recommend checking it out. But I got points to make, so if you don't want spoilers, you better skedaddle, but only after liking and subscribing. Please? But here are the various reasons why I enjoyed Ranking of Kings. First off, I just love her protagonist. Prince Boshi has not only had his giant strength taken from him at birth, but is also deaf and functionally mute. But he's extremely motivated and found ways to get around them. He's learned to read lips, so he doesn't have to solely rely on his retainers learning sign language. He's developed his speed and dodging skills to assist in a fight where his strength would fail. He even shows decent maturity as a kid, even if he's quite naive at times. He simply wants to help, but is commonly left with the short end of the stick, and he lacks the strength to help or the ability to effectively communicate with most people. Meaning people will openly write him off and disparage him without knowing that Boji can understand what they're saying. But he does his best to put on a smile even when he's at his saddest. He's a great character without ever having to say a word. It was a good example of writing a character with a disability. But I also love Kage, his tragic backstory of being the last member of the Shadow Clan. Who'd survive, he was forced by thugs to steal and no one else would help him, given the Shadow Clan's history as assassins. But after meeting Boji, he finds the one person who wouldn't push him away or force him to do their dirty work. Plus, I love their friendship, with him being the one person who will support Boji's dream of becoming king. Outside of our duo, the sidecast is built extremely well. Queen Hillang starts as unlikable, but quickly becomes one of my favorite characters with her wacky reactions and believable history as Boji's stepmother, trying her best to support him but overly protective of him. Dorsha, her guards, another great character with another believable backstory. There's Despa and Desher, both are trying to find a way to cure their cursed brother, who is later released by the main villain to unleash chaos on Boji's kingdom. But that lets me segue into the villains and antagonists. Sure, some like Soku are villains for villain's sakes, but the best ones are given reasons for their villainy. The previously mentioned brother Okin has been cursed with immortality, to never grow old, but can feel the pain from every strike he takes, which drove him insane, meaning that you do want to see him get cured, but he's such a threat that there might not be any better way to deal with him besides imprisonment. But there's also Gaigan, a former mercenary, that had to watch his fellow mercs use dirty tactics of torturing an orc child to draw his fellow orcs on the opposite side into a fury, only to see them get mercilessly slaughtered. But when he tried to stop it, it branded him as a traitor to the underworld army that had hired the mercs to help dethrone their evil father. All of which helps paint the picture of this world, a ruthless world of kings, not helped at all by the titular ranking of kings. A system where the kings of the land are ranked in power, and the one who placed first can be granted any wish they desire. But as we've seen several times throughout the show, this wish and the chase for this wish has driven many kings to insanity and made them commit great atrocities. But the ranking of king isn't the only thing that can grant wishes. There's also a demon, and god, their design is absolutely wonderful. The horrifying smile, the laugh, it all just sends a tingle up the spine. Lastly, there's also the execution of the audio, the animation, and it's all wonderful. Obviously, the series has a distinct animation style, and I found it very refreshing. But Studio Wit definitely put a good effort into polishing up the key moments like the climactic fights. And the results come out breathtaking and make the journey it took to get there worth it. But what about any weaknesses? Well, first off, it's not a complete story. It definitely finishes off an arc, but there are still some loose ends to tie off. Boshi and Kage have left to start their own kingdom. Dasher accepted the #1 ranking in the Ranking of Kings, and Okin is still on the loose. All offer jumping off points for a potential second season if we get one. So this openness does limit my rankings slightly. There's also the main villain herself, Moroncho, a cursed magic user with her own tragic backstory, and a strong connection to the alien bosse. But after he dies, she's pretty much willing to sacrifice anything to bring him back, even sticking him in his son Daida's body. I think most viewers would agree that her backstory and actions are well built upon and make sense for her as a character. The part that seems to be dividing viewers, however, is whether or not they see her as redeemable. She's a character that has been shown the horrors of mankind and the way their greed and fears will cause them to do terrible things to each other, who after her tragedy has only one living person left that will show her any form of love, meaning she would do anything to let Bosse's dream come true, even making deals with demons. She does see the error in her way, but whether she deserves to be saved is up for debate. I personally believe yes, as the main theme I take away from the Ranking of Kings is benevolence. The series asks many times what would make a good king. I believe the series would answer that a good king is willing to help those who are less fortunate, especially those who are shunned, and just simply accept them for who they are. Boji exemplifies this. He is friends with Kage, a being that many would shun or even hunt for his ancestors' past. So it makes sense he would do his best to save Moroncho, who now understands the error of her ways, and help give her a chance to make up for her mistakes. But I can see why this may rub some people the wrong way, but I wanted to let it play out before I cast my judgment. But in conclusion, Ranking of Kings has many things going for it. It has strong characters, strong world building, and is also well animated. So, being a person who deeply enjoys these elements, I would say yeah, Ranking of Kings is absolutely a series you should check out. Up there with a series like Shadow House and Komodo G, and a series with a lot of promise that will hopefully be getting more in the near future.